Mothers of Reddit, who's the worst girlfriend your son has ever brought home? He liked a girl in high school. He chased her for the better part of a year. She'd lead him on, then make excuses why they couldn't date. Rinse, repeat. She wasn't super friendly to us, either. Finally, their senior year, she gave in. They dated for a year and a half when she suggested they move in together. He was hesitant, but she won. They got an apartment near us. She was working evenings in a hardware store while he worked full-time at a car lot and went to classes to be a volunteer firefighter. She left the house a mess and him a list of chores to do in the evenings. He did them. After a couple of months, she complained how they never went on dates anymore. 2 minimum wage jobs and bills to pay, no money for dates. He decided to surprise her with a picnic and a night at the drive-in. He waited and waited and she finally came home at 4:30 in the morning. She had an excuse that he didn't quite buy. 2 weeks later he gets a call from some lady claiming her husband and my son's girlfriend were having an affair. So they borrowed a car they wouldn't recognize and followed girlfriend after work one night. Sure enough, when it all came out, the affair had been going on for a lot longer than they'd had the apartment. She was begging him to move in with her while she was seeing someone else. We didn't like her from the get-go. But after that, ugh. Luckily, he met an amazing girl and is happily married with a baby. Not to a baby now. I'm the big brother. My mom's been dealing with little brother's ex for a while now. They dated for 5 months as freshmen in high school. She was nice enough but really weird, clingy, and over-sexual with my brother at 13. As a result, I was designated chaperone. In those 5 months she claimed my brother raped her, beat her mercilessly, impregnated her and murdered the baby 5 times and stalked her. Her parents tried forcing my brother to knock this girl up, move in and take care of her whole family. At 13, my brother was a late bloomer and as a result I had to explain what all of that meant and the implications this insane tween was getting him involved in. He broke up with her. She went off the deep end. Constant lies about how abusive my brother was. Hello, you guys hung out 4 times. In my mom's living room, with me 1 couch away. I would know what happened. She went to her youth pastor with big crocodile tears about being sexually assaulted. Changed the story a ton of times including who the assailant was. Then admitted she lied. Was placed in a psychiatric ward for a year. Came back. Continued stalking my brother. They are now seniors. Shush has done this same thing to 4 other guys in their classes. Shush is currently facing a slew of stalking and harassment charges from her most recent victim. I don't have sons, but a friend of mine has chronically bad taste in women. Back in college, he dated this girl who was very sweet. They all are. They come across well, but she always told these stories that just didn't seem right. And drama seemed to follow her wherever she went. For example, she claimed to have been attacked in her boyfriend's house by an intruder when she was there alone. The problem with this is that unbeknownst to her, one of the roommates got home early from work that day and was sitting on the porch reading when this intruder supposedly broke in and attacked her. He was pretty confused when the police showed up. The case was dropped because how on earth did someone break in and flee with this guy sitting on the porch? He still believed her and defended her to anyone who had anything to say about it. He's currently dating a girl who is a major klepto, and it's not like useful stuff. She seems to just steal just to steal. For example, she stole clothes from my baby. She doesn't have kids. What does she need with onesies? He's currently struggling to find a place to live because his longtime roommate told him she wasn't allowed in the apartment and she can't get an apartment because of her criminal history. He mailed the shit she stole back to me and apologized, but still doesn't see the problem with this relationship. Not a mom, but when my brother was in high school he dated this heinous bitch who treated everyone like shit. She was a sassy little The straw that broke the camel's back for me mom was when they needed a ride back from the movies, and they were late because she demanded they go to a different movie. My mom waited an hour for them, and when they finally showed up, my mom was a little miffed. But when she asked them, the girl said it was my mom's duty to wait because that was her job. Yeah, mom lost it. The girl said it was my mom's duty to wait because that was her job. Yeah, mom lost it. Jesus. I would lose it. No way in hell would I let someone talk to my mother like that. Good God. I'm a daughter and I'm not a fan. My dad's girlfriend. She seemed really sweet but a bit quiet in the beginning, and I didn't mind her for 2 years, but at Christmas, they visited and shit hit the fan. I hadn't seen Dad for a few months before, but noticed in phone calls he was sounding more and more anxious. Then at Christmas he spent the whole day making sure his girlfriend, let's call her Satan, was okay, while she sat around at my in-laws' house not talking or helping clean up after lunch, etc. Dad made excuses for her, she's tired, etc. We'd just eaten a bunch. The next day he seemed worse and spent the whole day shopping with her and buying her whatever she wanted, while she whined about how she's never had nice things and feels bad about him buying things for her, never offering to pay for anything, of course. She also works about 3 days a week and complains how she's broke but lives rent-free at Dad's with her daughter and could work more, but her old boss was mean to her and she gets too tired working more. She blames it on an inner ear condition which causes drowsiness, but which can be fixed by taking medication she refuses to buy because she's broke, or let Dad buy because she's not worth spending money on. Boohoo. So on Boxing Day I mentioned to her that I'm worried about Dad, that he seems really anxious lately. She took that as me blaming her and her daughter for causing it by living with them. I said no but yes though, and that I'm sorry I offended her, and she wouldn't accept my apology. Watched me get really upset and apologize and try to fix it without her showing any emotion or response. She then took me into a quiet room, told me I'm not mad at her, I'm mad at my own mother and auntie who she said used to be a prostitute, and she told me my dad hates my brother, almost as a warning or something. The next time my fiancé and I visited Dad at home, she looked me in the face and said in front of my fiancé, "You're lucky you've got your own room to sleep in, bitch please." And her daughter lives in the guest room, which used to be where we stayed because it's much bigger. I don't know what to do anymore. He's the only parent I have left. Talk to your dad. Use your fiancé for strength. My mother would say my ex-sister-in-law. Pros: talks a lot, extremely social person. Cons: fraud, started a business to launder Dad's money. I mean, 4 pros versus 3 cons. Simple math. Really. My son is 11 months old, so I don't have to worry about this yet, but how about from a sister's perspective? My older brother brought home this woman we will call Renee. At first, Renee seemed pretty cool, if not slightly sketchy. There were red flags immediately, but we were just too blinded by the fact that he seemed happy to address them. She had just left her husband, who she claimed was abusive, and yet left her 2 young children with him. Lost 2 jobs in 2 weeks for not showing up. She was 31 and all of her friends were around 18 to 19. It didn't take long for her to show her true colors as the nastiest, dishonest, most controlling person I have ever had the displeasure of knowing. Here are some examples. She would scream at her children and call them horrible names when she wasn't outright ignoring them. She refused to work and spent what little money they had on pot. She stole my identity and opened up electric and gas in my name. She ruined the relationship between my brother and his son to the point where they actively avoid each other. Thank God my brother came to his senses and left her ass, but his life was still ruined. His credit is in toilet. His health is ruined. And he has no relationship with his oldest son. He's a shell of his former self. F you, Renee. I hope you step on a Lego laced with tetrodotoxin. Not exactly the prompt, but my uncle's first wife was a bona fide psychopath. This is the most egregious incident. My uncle grew up on a farm and he had a cow there which he absolutely adored. And I mean, he took care of this thing like it was his baby. Well, after about 1.5 years of marriage with this woman, they file for divorce. During the ordeal, my uncle comes home to find that his beloved cow isn't where she usually is. In fact, he couldn't find her anywhere. The bitch sold it to a slaughterhouse. That woman. Stepmom here. She was from a very well-off family, and it had made her incredibly selfish and demanding. She never had a nice thing to say about him or anything else. She criticized him constantly and talked shit about our house and lifestyle to our faces. She lied to her parents and asked us to cover for her. She yelled at our son when we wouldn't do it. They were only teenagers. but she expected him to take her to high-end restaurants and buy her super expensive gifts constantly. She told him his intended college major didn't pay enough and he needed to drop out and work for her dad. She'd ask him to drive home from college to give her a ride somewhere, and then make him wait in the car until she was ready to leave. This happened more than once. She cheated on him numerous times. She was a garbage person. We were so happy when he finally got out. I was the son in this situation. My mom has a severe case of no one will ever be good enough for my baby syndrome. When my now wife and I got engaged, everyone congratulated us except for my mom, who drove 5 hours to visit her mother to cry. She never supported our engagement for the 3 years leading up to the wedding, contributed the bare minimum of having my dad pay for the rehearsal dinner, and even still only tolerated her presence. My wife is a lovely, kind woman who everyone in my family loves. All of my friends love, but my mother couldn't despise her more. Well, I have to say thank you for standing by your wife's side. I dated a guy like that once and he believed everything his mother told him and it was the worst experience. Welp. Since all the kids are doing it. Not a mom but a sister. My brother met a very trashy girl in his teens and got her pregnant. A few months after my gorgeous, fantastic niece was born, her mother took her and moved in with another guy, because she was pregnant with his kids' twins. That she ended up miscarrying. She texted my brother and said he would never see his daughter again, and kept this torment up for months. My brother one night found himself in a seedy motel room with some friends who had a gun. They left to go to the gas station and he called his daughter's mom. Whatever she said was the final straw, and we pulled him off of life support the next morning after spending 8 hours at the hospital watching them pump blood into him to try to keep him alive until they could be prepared to donate his organs. At his funeral, his daughter was only a year old. She does not know what happened. This girl is now 25, and has a second child. She's also on her 7th engagement, in what will potentially be her 4th marriage. All since my brother passed away 7 years ago. The second child's father is currently not allowed to see his baby, and she has claimed that she cheated on him and that the baby is actually her current fiancé's child. It clearly is not. It looks just like the man who was in her original story, the father. So I mean, she takes the cake for bad girlfriends. I miss my brother and my niece will never know how funny or cool her dad was. And I'm crying.